What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome with Tyler Stafford, and we have a special guest joining us today. If you can ever get in the shot, there he is. It's Brice Matthews, one of Houston's touted infield prospects, fresh off of a winter ball stay in Puerto Rico, but now he is in a place that I never thought I'd describe it this way. He's in snow-covered Houston.
Yeah.
Brice, you played baseball at the University of Nebraska, so this can't be that foreign to you that Houston's covered in snow right now. But still, had to be weird to wake up. I mean, you're in Atascocita. You're from Houston. Had to be weird this morning to wake up, look outside your window, and see snow everywhere.
It's funny. Like one of my best friends, he called me this morning. He's like walking around outside, just like so excited. And it's like when I see that, it's like it's just another day. But it's funny to see. Like it's crazy. Like people kind of overreact, and it's like I went to the grocery store last night, and they're just clearing everything off the shelf. Like this thing's gonna be over in a day and a half.
Yeah, I had to travel up to DC for work last night. So first off, Chandler, have you seen the guy on TikTok that does the like geo-guessing stuff? Do you know what I'm talking? I think his name's
talking about. And he's like everything right, like by the street almost. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what Chandler was when I logged on, and he just saw the like red background in the fridge, and Chandler goes, "Is that a Residence Inn?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is amazing." But yes, I'm jealous of all of the snow pictures. But yeah, I was prepping the house over the last couple of days, and you're right, Brice. I mean, you were fighting people for bottles of water at a Kroger somewhere. It was nuts.
Brice, what's the most snow you saw in Lincoln, and what's the coldest game you ever played in Lincoln?
So my freshman year, I just got back to school after fall break. So like school had just started. It's like the second day school started. It goes negative 35 degrees and 15 inches of snow. I'm like, what am I doing?
Did you have like I mean, I don't even own clothes warm enough.
Well, you can't go outside. You'll die probably. Coldest game I played in was probably like my sophomore year. It was like 22 degrees at K-State in the midweek. Mm-hmm. It was a bad game. Like I made 2 errors. Like I couldn't feel my hands. My hands were like just no blood flow.
What does it feel like to make contact when your hands are that cold?
I don't think I took the bat off my shoulders that day. It was kind of a quick day for me. I got pulled. I threw a ball in the stands, and that was the last I got in the game. Like I was done. Like that's the coldest I really didn't play any cold weather games at all. I was like, what am I supposed to do? But I learned from that really quick.
I remember when you were drafted, I remember you talked to us, and you got to remind me of the story exactly how it went. But I remember you said something about, there were teams, I think locally, I think some lower level teams in Houston and around Texas were recruiting you, but you wanted to make it a point to go elsewhere. You wanted to kind of like be uncomfortable a little bit and make it a point to go maybe away from Houston. How did you end up at Nebraska? How did that all work out for you?
Yeah, so started off, I go to this like little like Banditos camp where I think it's like Oklahoma, one of the hitting coaches there, and 2 other schools I'm assuming. And Coach Childress is there, but he's not like he's there with his son Max.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting really well. And then all of a sudden we start talking. I'm like, he looks familiar. It's like, that's Coach Childress. And so that happens, and then they have a camp, and so we go to the camp. We email Coach Childress, let him know we're going to be there, whatever. Do really well, and Coach Bolt's the hitting coach there, and so start talking to them. I do really well with everything, in the scrimmages, like playing great. Fast forward, go to Sam Houston. I play a game, like a little tournament with the Banditos, and Coach Wedd's there just watching. And he actually played at Kansas with my dad. And my dad kind of like spotted him out there somewhere. And he went to go talk, and he started talking to my dad, and he's like, yeah, my son's like playing shortstop right now. I was like, oh, he looks decent. And that's how that kind of relationship started. And then one of our pitchers, Caleb Cannon, he was already committed to San Francisco State and kind of built that relationship, started talking to Coach Ivell because he was a coordinator. And Coach Deggs was there at the time. So kind of build that relationship. They keep watching me to come to my game my junior year, and then they offer me. And so that's where I thought I was going to go. And then
I thought you were going to go to Sam Houston. To Sam Houston State. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I had offers from Northwestern State and Prairie View A&M. That was the only offers I had. Texas A&M didn't offer me. And then 2 weeks before I was going to commit, the whole coaching staff leaves. So I was like, well, I wanted to play for those guys. And it's like, I didn't know, like, Coach Sirianni, who became the new head coach, I didn't really speak to him at all. So it was kind of like I didn't know. And then Coach Harvell goes to Nebraska. They were really interested, and I was kind of like shooing them away because I honestly didn't want to go like far away from home because I'm a homebody. Like I just like being home and just kicking it so all my friends and family can see me. Thought I was gonna go to Northwestern State, and then one day I'm just sitting in the house, like just watching TV, and like my dad just stops like in front of his room. He was like, you always say you want to – this is like after I went on my visit or whatever, because I didn't like it. I didn't. It was like so far away from home. I had a football game before. I was like, I'm tired. This is not going to be like for me. And then fast forward, we're in the house. He stops. He's like, you always wanted to play in front of play the biggest competition and the best people. And you're kind of shying away from that right now. And he's like, just think about it. After he said that, mine was made. Like the next day, I called Coach Harvell and Coach Bolton. I committed, and that was it.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, you mentioned being a homebody. You just got back from playing in Puerto Rico. What was that like? You know, what's the vibe of that over there doing winter ball? How does the process work? And then, how do you how do you play baseball living in a new country with brand new teammates? What's that experience like?
It's kind of the same as like when you get drafted, and like I did when the short season happened. You go to a different place. Luckily, so I'm from North Carolina, went to Fayetteville, so that wasn't like pretty foreign, but it's kind of the same process. You learn the guys, like you meet them, you talk to them, just hang out, you play baseball, and it's kind of the everyday process of just trying to get better. And winter ball is kind of like a lot of those guys, everything over there. So you go in there to compete and just try to win. And that's what we did. It was a lot of fun. Still in the championship right now. It's crazy. It's a 9-game series.
Really?
Yeah, it sucks that they're down 2-0 right now, but let's try to get them to pull it out and get the win. So
I've got a buddy who lives in Puerto Rico, and he told me that the stoplights there are just a suggestion whenever you're driving. What is that like?
It's just like, what is going on? I think around like after 8 o'clock, it's almost like no rules on the road. But it's kind of cool to see. Just like, hey, they're just going how they please, and kind of adapted a little bit.
You had some familiar faces there with you. Ricky Rivera, who was going to be the Astros AA manager this coming season, he managed the team. Jason Bell was the bench coach, and then Alex Centrone, the Astros hitting coach, was the GM. And then you had a familiar roommate too, right?
Yeah, Zach DeCenzo.
Yeah. So what did you and Zach get into in Puerto Rico? I heard there was Puerto Rico is apparently known for its sushi. So you guys went in on sushi.
Yeah, it was fire. we ate a lot of good food, a lot of pork chops and rice, churrasco steak and rice and beans. So I had rice and beans every day probably. Um, when I got back home, it was just like I cannot do rice or beans for the whole. But it was good just to have somebody with you every day, and they're there putting in the work, and we're just trying to get better, just compete, and just play ball. So like, it's our job's what we love to do. So it was a lot of fun.
So
Go ahead, Chandler.
the one thing you hear about Puerto Rico and the one thing you hear about winter ball everywhere is just how crazy the environments are. And you said like a lot of times, like it's everything for a lot of like the players and a lot of the fans that go to these games. Like maybe if you could describe like what the stadium and what the environment is like for these games, because it can get pretty heated. Like you see videos of brawls, you see videos of a lot of stuff going down. Like it gets heated.
Yeah, some places a lot better than others. So like Maya West, they're like on the west end of the island. The first game, that's where we started out at, and they had like a full band playing. It was awesome. They were nonstop. It felt like I was in a soccer arena. It was like closed in on you, like right on top of you. So it was pretty good to see that. It felt like I was playing football again. So I love that. I love the loud energy. That's where I feel like I'm my best at. Like when people are yapping, talking, like I love that. That's like it just gets me going.
That's cool. So when you're at like a winter ball place like this, how do you balance trying to make adjustments, try to like do things that maybe you wouldn't do in a real, quote unquote real season versus just trying to win every day? I guess I can understand it from a pitcher's perspective, right? Like I can see somebody going like, I'm going to throw my changeup 40 times today, even though I normally wouldn't. What does a hitter do to like tweak and adjust things in the batter's box or maybe their approach and something like this?
Yeah, that's something me and Zoe we talked about a lot. It was kind of challenging for me, just because like when you're up in the box, like you don't want to think, like because when you start thinking, like everything just goes out of the window. And so it was a little challenging, like during the middle part of it for me, just because like I was trying to work on something and I'm trying to think about doing something like with my hands or something, and shoot, the ball's out of hand and I'm swinging and missing. So I was getting a little frustrated with myself in that aspect. So um, at the end of the day, it all comes down to competing, and that's the only thing that matters, how much you compete, and the other stuff like it'll take care of itself. Like so, shoot, defensively, I was out there every day, early work, me and Zoe, um, just getting it in, just putting the work in, and just trying to be better, breaking old habits.
What was your biggest like priority aside from playing every day and getting reps in winter ball? Like, what was your biggest priority? I guess both defensively and maybe offensively. Maybe some improvements, maybe some things you wanted to try. What was maybe your biggest goals going to Puerto Rico?
Yeah, defensively, I definitely say it was just like working on accuracy and stuff like that. I kind of I get really short with my front leg extension, and so we were just trying to work on that, work on like my sequencing and just like timing with my hands and my feet. Me and JB, we worked on it every day, and it feels like really good now. And then hitting, just controlling the zone, trying to have more end zone contact, and just being on time. Like when you're on time, it takes care of a lot of things. So just working on that.
So you mentioned North Carolina. How long were you in Atascocita? Like, was that your whole high school experience, or when did you move here?
Yeah, we moved to Texas when I was about 8, and been here ever since. Like it's kind of when I was second going in third grade. It's like that really changed like everything for me. Just like seeing how competitive everything is here, kind of like it stepped up everything for me. Like my competitiveness, my work ethic, and just being able to do any and everything with whatever sport, basketball, football, or baseball. Um, it really changed everything for me.
So I grew up in Baytown, and I went to Baytown Sterling. So my memories of Atascocita High School are just getting stomped in football by Atascocita. So I don't have pleasant memories of Atascocita. But what's it like, growing up in the Houston area and then finding out like, oh, the local team is going to draft me? You mentioned, wanting family and friends to see you. Like what's going through your head on draft night like that?
At the beginning, like my range was like 28 to 54. So like I didn't really have my hopes on any place. Like it was like whoever drafts me is like that's all I wanted was to get drafted. It didn't really it wasn't really a team or whatever, because like you don't know. And when it happened, it was just like I couldn't even put it into words. It was crazy. Just to have like my family and like my best friends here, it was great. It was so much fun, just like to be celebrated, and it was a lot of fun. I still can't really put into words.
And now you've got a high school teammate in the Astros organization now, Matthew Linsky, who actually was the Astros traded for him for Gray Kessinger from the D-backs. That's got to be a rarity that a high school team, one high school team, now has two guys in the same organization. Really quick, what do you know about Matthew? And give us a little bit of a scouting report if you remember.
Yeah, big guy, heavy fastball, really sharp slider. He's gonna come at you with his best stuff, and yeah, he's gonna strike you out.
So he's converted into a reliever now, I think, in pro ball, but he was obviously starting in Atascocita. Was he kind of you guys would send him out on the first game of a series, send this big 6'10" guy out, and he would just dominate people?
Yeah, so he was hurt a lot of like my junior year, and then senior year was COVID, so he only really pitched like a couple games. And the last game like that he pitched, I believe it was like against Kingwood, our rival, who won 1-0, and it was shut out. Nasty.
Just put the team on his back.
Yeah.
Did you play basketball with him too?
Nah, he wasn't much of a basketball guy.
What?
No.
What a waste. What are we doing? How do you not have the 6'10" guy just stand next to the hoop? We'll get it to you. It can't be that hard.
We should have got him out there. We could have needed our school would have helped. Like our school's really at basketball. Like I think they've made it to state.
Yeah.
Like 4 out of the last like 6 or 7 years.
How do you pronounce the town that Atascocita is in?
You said it perfect.
Well, I meant the city. Humble. Is it Humble?
Yeah, Humble.
Okay, stop. Yeah, but then when you say, if you're calling somebody do you pronounce the H? I find
the H is silent. The H is silent.
Okay, so if somebody is not bragging, they're being humble.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, yeah. I flip. I'm like, oh yeah, that's over there in Humble. You got to be humble about it. It's funny that I switch back and forth.
Brice, we were talking a little bit off air about your kind of a whirlwind first year in pro ball. I think you said your first series as a professional was in New York.
Yeah,
last
year in New York, and yep.
And then you went to Puerto Rico after. I guess, I mean, as best as you can, summarize kind of how your first year in pro ball went, your first full year, and what you learned by going up 3 levels, ratcheting up competition level and just skill level, seeing better pitching, seeing better breaking stuff, things like that.
I think it was really like everything. It was really fast, but it was everything. Just learning how to have routine, knowing how to treat your body, how to take care of it, eating right, getting sleep, a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Warzone, but just like managing your mental, and not just getting too involved in your head with how much baseball you're playing, and finding something to help you just get away from it, because you play 6 days a week, so you got to have something to take your mind off, because if if you're on that 24/7, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy.
I used to work for the Hooks, and I saw how much PB&J AA players eat. How do
Yeah.
you eat well at the at the lower? You mentioned keeping your body right, or whatever. I saw what they're eating. What are you doing to make sure that you're eating the right stuff?
So every morning it'd be like 3 eggs or bacon or something in that realm. Where I'd go get something to eat, and then lunch I get like Chick-fil-A or like Chipotle or like Choco Cafe, like on the healthier side of everything. And then we have pregame food, and that was provided for us. And then after the game, post game, and then I'm a big sweets guy, so it's a lot of ice cream and chocolate chip cookies.
Okay. Well, it worked out for Bregman. What was he doing, Chandler, his first year? Wasn't he drinking like 6 Dr. Peppers a day?
He's still all over the Dr. Pepper, man. He loved Dr. Pepper.
They're so good.
Speaking of, how many rehab assignments did you see, and what were the spreads good? Rehab assignment spreads?
Yeah. Verlander was great.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a great one. Well, Bagwell was there one day, and he got us like it was like a tenderloin something. It was unreal. So shout out to Bagwell for that. It was much needed. But rehab, the meals are great. Love those.
What was Verlander like? Like just coming on a rehab assignment? I mean, you hear so much about him, but sharing a clubhouse and a dugout with him, even just for a day, what was that like?
Yeah, it was very detailed to how he like had his locker, to how he prepared every day, what he did on the bench when he was just sitting down. I didn't play that day, so I got to watch a lot. I got to see everything, to see what he was telling himself, and it was crazy. He'd be like, I think Colin Price was catching. He'd be like, all right, I'm going to grip my slider a little bit different this one and throw it and strike out. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. So just to see that stuff and be like, dang, yeah, he's got it. And just to see how detailed he was and how his mind was working through that bats and what he wanted to do, it was great to see.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you mentioned Bagwell, Verlander, those guys. I mean, growing up here, did you go to Astros games? Do you have any that you remember seeing in person?
Yeah, my first game, I was little, and that's when we weren't the best. I remember Prince Fielder hitting like a ball off the top of the right field foul pole. The Brewers won that game. And then after that, I was like, we didn't really go too many Astros games. The most memorable one was, I think, the year they won the first World Series. It was Game 7 in the championship series against the Yankees. And watch Altuve hit a home run and Evan Gattis hit a home run, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, you were at that game?
Yeah, I was at the game.
Dude, so you saw that's the McCullers curveball game. You saw, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then my dad actually went to the Game 5 against the
no way. In the World Series?
There. Yeah, I was getting in the World Series game. So he was there. I was like, dang, that kind of sucks. I wasn't there.
That's awesome, man. Cool. So go ahead, Chandler.
Yeah, soon you'll get to share a clubhouse. You're going to get to share a clubhouse with Lance McCullers here coming up. You got an invite to big league camp. Congratulations, by the way. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
First big league camp for you. How do you approach this? How do you approach going into a clubhouse where you know the names, you know the faces, and I'm sure you've met them a couple times, but this is going to be kind of a different thing. Like you guys are going to be in a routine. This is work now. So
yeah,
have you sought any advice, or kind of how are you going to approach going to your first big league camp?
I think it just be myself. Like don't try to do too much. Like I'm not really worried about anything. Like no pressure putting on myself. Like with anything, just have fun, be yourself, and just go in there and work and do what I know how to do. Not make it complicated.
What is there one thing you're looking forward? Because you came up last year and backed up in some Grapefruit League games, so you've been in big league spring training games. But is there something you're looking forward to being in the big league camp grind? Just seeing, maybe how a certain player goes about his routine, or just kind of how the big league team does it. Is there something you're looking forward to?
I definitely say picking the brains of those guys that have been there and just asking them questions, being a sponge. And just enjoying it, because like not many people get to do this. I'm very blessed to be in the position I am. So I thank God every day, and shit, without him, like I wouldn't be here. So I just let him take control. He's in the driver's seat, and I'm just following wherever he leads me.
That's awesome, man. Well, best of luck. We're excited to see, what lessons you learned in the last year and how this year goes for you. But best of luck, Brice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Brice, we appreciate it. You're the first player guest we've had on Crush City territory, so you'll be the answer to a trivia question forever. When this podcast takes off, you'll be the first player guest we had. I appreciate you. We appreciate you taking some time. I know there's not much else to do today because we're all snowed in. So appreciate you giving us 30 minutes or so. I'm sure the fans will love to hear from you, and we will see you in West Palm Beach soon in about a month. We'll see you there.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right.